Shari, when we talk about mental health and well-being, we often talk about stress, we often hear about stress. What is stress?
Stress is combined of a whole range of different aspects. So we have the physiological aspects of stress, which is where we'll notice increased heart rate, where we might feel tingling. So there's a physiological response that plays into that. Stress is also manifested behaviourally, and so we might act a little bit more agitated. We might notice that we're walking a lot faster. But primarily stress arises from cognition, so our thoughts. And so stress is generally the perception that we don't have the ability to meet the demands that are on us at a point in time, either due to resources that may not be available or to querying whether or not we ourselves are up to the task. And so when we believe that we can't meet those demands, that's when we will experience the thought processes associated with stress, and then that often sets off the cycle of the physiological and the behavioural responses with that.
Is stress always a bad thing?
No. We talk about two primary forms of stress. So the first stress is helpful stress, which is called eustress, and the second stress is bad stress or distress. And so generally when people are talking about stress in the workplace, or the stress felt by people, or the mental health condition of stress, they're talking about distress or bad stress. So with respect to stress, if we had a line down here that represented the work pressure or the amount of stress that we feel, and then this line here on this axis is our work performance. What we find is that when we are starting out with stress, that a certain amount of stress is actually helpful. So as we're experiencing increased stress, our work performance actually increases until it reaches a peak. And then we get to the top. And once we reach that top, then what we find is that as the stress increases, our work performance actually decreases. So we have an inverted U that happens here. This area here is often where we're feeling extremely comfortable with things. And so this is our comfort zone. So we're experiencing some level of stress and we're managing things quite well. This area here is often where we feel distress or things aren't going very well. So the demands are too high, or our perception of the demands is too high, and so our work performance actually decreases because we're not thinking clearly and we're not managing very, very well. So what we aim to do with stress is to get people to work within this zone here, within the optimal zone. And that means that they're doing strategies like having effective stress management techniques, that they're engaging in perspective taking and reality checking along the way, that they're alert to signs that they're getting closer to the distress zone and able to take some action when they need to, but having some challenges there that keep them engaged and motivated. So with stress, we're hoping that people aren't feeling overly comfortable all the time because they can start to feel bored and get disengaged. They have moments that they're in what would be the stretched zone, or the zone where they're actually managing well, but not moving into the distress zone.